Welcome back and welcome. If this is your first time coming here today, the second Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. Eastern, it's our Heart to Heart, Less Leg, More Hearts peer virtual support group meeting where we bring health and wellness experts to the comfort of your home to make you your best human, to help flourish your mental and your physical and your spiritual and all the realms and facets of what makes us well. We have an amazing presenter today, Theresa Coughlin. Theresa and I actually met at a women's business league event, and our energies just synced. And she's a really a vast resource and really like diverse background. She's actually a registered nurse and a certified nutrition coach who's currently in a bodybuilding competition. And it's really exciting because she just got her pro card, but she specializes in helping people make powerful lifestyle changes through mindset and wellness. She has a really amazing sobriety story, and she has a lot of amazing tips and tricks, and was excited to share them with our platform so that we can all feel our healthiest in terms of coping with the holidays and just in life in general. So without further ado, I humbly turn this over to you, my dear Theresa.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see. Yeah. I have a little, I just have, just so we can just kind of like prompts. Let me see if I can do a full screen. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? How do I see all you guys though?
Yes, we can see you, girl.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I can't see you guys. So, um, that's okay. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for coming. As she said, my name is Theresa. I do health and wellness. I've been a registered nurse for 17 years and created my business back in 2019 that I just wanted to help people. I had my own journey. I'm very vulnerable and open. I think sharing is powerful to help at least one person not feel like they're doing the hard within wellness alone. I suffered from a severe eating disorder for 10 plus years. When I graduated college in 2007 from nursing school, I weighed 89 pounds, which came with a lot of lack of confidence and self-esteem. And it also, unfortunately, came with coping with alcohol in not a positive way, right? And so that kind of went on for a really long time. And really not until my 30s did I start to truly tap into healing myself. And I started working on my nutrition and fitness, but it was more like checking off the boxes because I was still drinking a lot at the time. And then in 2017, I got sober. So I've been sober since October 1st, 2017. And that was really the pivoting moment to kind of connect everything. Because to be honest, I was able to like feel the feels versus checking off the boxes and kind of really ask myself, what am I truly doing to add to me feeling my best self? And then the further question was always kind of like, how am I being powerful, right? And I think within sobriety too has taught me really it's one day at a time. I'm not an amputee. I've worked with a lot of amputees within my nursing career and just, nursing career in general, just working with people who need extra support, right? It's truly whatever journey we're in, it's truly taking one day at a time. Life is going to throw us so many challenges. It's more like how I take it in my sobriety, and this is how I teach and preach and coach people that I encounter in my business is how can I wake up today and just say, how can I be powerful today, right? It doesn't need to be perfect. We're not robots, we're human. But I think there's power in taking one day at a time and building those foundations and almost like the building blocks, right? But just truly taking one day at a time and saying, okay, today may be hard, but what are some things I'm going to do to pour into me? And I know within my realm of business, within nutrition, some of the girls were already asking weeks ago, like, what's the tips and tricks to stay healthy during the holiday? And I think it's that fear of just overwhelming ourselves. And maybe some of us turn to emotional eating for that comfort or that stress, right? We if we overeat or maybe even undereat, whether we're stressed, we're sad, we're happy. And what happens is then it comes with all this guilt and shame. And that's kind of really what spills us over into that, like, it's not just the day, it turns into weeks. And then, oh my God, it's been months now that I've been doing these crappy habits and I don't know how to get out of it, right? I want people to have these tools in their toolbox so we're able to pivot and focus on consistency and being mindful versus that rigid black and white. Because the holidays are supposed to be fun. I personally don't like the holidays. So it is stressful, it is chaotic. And instead of like losing our crap over it, like what are some helpful things we can do to just kind of almost make it like another day, but joyful and present, right? And I always say, and I've learned this in my own journey, that nutrition and fitness and movement and mindset should really be, again, asking ourselves, how am I pouring into me, right? Instead of checking off the boxes. And that's really powerful. And as soon as I started pouring into myself with healthier nutrition and healthier movement and learning that all of these things were my way to unplug from the world when the world's a dumpster fire or I'm feeling all the feels, it's really adding to me taking that next step to be like, okay, I'm still kind of giving back to me and setting that boundary of like, I still need to take care of myself. So that's what I'm hoping to do here is kind of have everybody walk away with some tools in their toolbox to be able to manage the holidays without feeling like it's a dumpster fire, for lack of better words, right? So healthy coping, like I said, I'm a registered nurse. I've got my, certs in nutrition and wellness. And my big thing is I've been sober since 2017. So really that one day at a time and getting through the hards are something I can really relate to. So just as a reminder, especially during the holidays, but anytime we're in our journey, that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no and do what you need to do to keep your peace and your health as a priority. My biggest example is my mom is Italian and an old-fashioned Catholic. So if I'm not eating 5 plates of food, then I don't love her enough, right? And it was almost like I started feeling guilty because I was doing it and it just didn't feel good to me. And then on the opposite end of it, when I was like, no, I don't want to overdo this, and getting the feedback that I didn't love her enough, I felt guilty for not doing what she wanted to do. I finally had to have the conversation with her that I was just like, listen, I know you don't understand my journey, but I just need you to respect it, right? Honestly, it was the same thing with my drinking. When I stopped drinking and was still surrounding myself with people who were drinking, I constantly get that question, like, you sure you don't want to drink? You sure you're still not drinking? Sure you don't want another drink? Like, and I had to literally tell people, like, it doesn't have to be your journey, but you're going to respect it, right? And that's kind of sometimes a hard conversation to have. My mom wasn't like, okay, sure, I respect your journey. She was really upset. But now she respects it, right? And I think that's okay for us to remember that through the holidays, and that people tend to project. People tend to think they know everything and that everything that they portray, or they think everybody thinks they have the answer to everything. And it's okay to put up that nice boundary and be like, you don't have to understand what I'm doing, but I'm going to ask you to respect it, right? Keeping healthy habits during the holiday can absolutely reduce stress and boost energy, mood, and resilience, right? Not only do I feel good, right, eating well, it also kind of gives me that confident boost that I'm like, oh, it's like loyalty points. Like I was given this opportunity to almost cave and I didn't. Finding that balance of like, where can I still find joy without overdoing it, right? So not only do I feel less bloated in the morning, but I also wake up being like, oh, you did you, girl. You set those boundaries. Look at you feeling good for yourself today. And that's what really matters. And then making sure that we're setting healthy intentions to help you enjoy the holidays and maximize the experience, right? It's so food oriented, which is fine, but it's setting those intentions for you. Same thing like with me going into the holidays with my mom, for example, of like, what do I want to do for myself? Of course I want to have a treat. I don't need 20 treats, right? Of course I want to enjoy some of the stuffing. How can I be mindful of what's on my plate? And that's kind of the stuff we'll kind of tap into. So some kind of nutrition mindfulness. Here's like my tips to it's really for every day kind of tools in your toolbox, but especially for the holidays, right? Choosing balance over restriction. As soon as I start to tell myself, no, you can't have that, guess what? I want it even more. It's like the devil in me is like, no, girl, you want all that cheese, right? So it's not about telling yourself you can't. There's no good or bad foods. It's really about the totality in the day. So it's balancing like, okay, I'm going to have a little bit of this, but I'm also going to make sure I'm filling up on the things that actually are going to add to me feeling my best self, like protein and the healthy carbs, water, those kind of things. So making sure that we're including protein and fiber into our choices, right? So guess what? When I'm starving or I'm going to a friend's house or at a holiday party, most of the options that are going to be out there are not protein, right? They're kind of like empty calories, lots of carbs and fats. So it's thinking about where can I just add in some protein? Protein's going to help me feel full, right? So then I'm not having that hangriness. And again, hangriness is an emotion. Sometimes when we work off the emotions, we start to feel guilt and shame. I shouldn't feel guilt and shame about being hangry. That's a natural connection of being hungry and having that emotion of I need to eat now. What are my options, right? Preventing that by kind of filling up more on the good stuff. So then it calms that so I can make mindful decisions versus just making decisions off our emotions in the moment. Being smart about our snacking, right? So the snacking adds up. Before you know it, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I ate that whole thing of olives. Or the cheese plate or 20 million crackers, right? I think the biggest thing is just being smart and mindful about it. So again, making sure I'm looking at my plate and filling my plate with some of the things that I do enjoy, and then where can I include some of like the veggies and the fruits and the healthier proteins. Slowing down when we're eating, right? And just being present. I think we tend to rush a lot of things or be on our phone while we're doing things. And then before you know it, it's that missed mindful connection of like, I just ate and enjoyed that. It's like you blow through it. You're like, oh my God, I think I'm still hungry. And we're not really still hungry. We just weren't being mindful of being actually enjoying the process of eating and having that mindful connection of I'm eating, I'm enjoying this, my body's absorbing it all. So slowing down and being present. Hydrate, right? Water, water, water. Uh, it's just good for you. We need to stay hydrated. And especially if you're somebody that can have alcohol and drinks, definitely drinking water in between the drinks can help with you just feeling better throughout the day and obviously the next day. And then the biggest thing for the holidays too is like not skipping meals. A lot of people tend to do this. We tend to save our calories for a big event. Again, it goes back to that hangriness. Now I'm going into the event totally hungry, totally like uncontrolled because I'm starving. So of course I'm going to grab the things that are the easiest and quickest, which aren't normally the healthiest. So I always tell people, keep a regular day. Have a regular breakfast in the morning before Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? What can we have on the way? Again, it's not to be toxic in the sense of like, I need to have a certain amount of like a protein shake before I go out or something like that. It's literally to prevent that hangriness. How can I fill myself up so I'm able to actually enjoy what I'm doing versus going into them scavenging and mindless. And then again, feeling that guilt and shame because I wasn't able to stop. Of course, I wasn't able to stop. I was hangry, right? So, things to pay attention to when you're eating is looking at our plate. So, I help people, this is the biggest thing I help people with as well, is just like literally being mindful of what's on my plate. So, this is a great little thing to look at when you're going into the holidays of like, what should my plate look like to make sure I'm balanced and full? So, I always tell people half the plate should be some kind of veggies and fruit, a fourth of the plate should be some kind of protein. Another fourth of the plate is some kind of carb. And within that, you're always going to have some fats. I tell people to just be mindful of like the oils and the dressings. That's all stuff that can like add up for fats and calories. I'm not saying don't do them, but most of us aren't measuring out what the nutritional serving size is, which is like 1 or 2 tablespoons, but just being mindful of not like dumping salad dressing. All of that can easily add up and just like again the excess of calories or just oils and stuff not making us feel good. So just remembering to be mindful of what we're actually doing and putting on our plate. So this is a great little kind of mindfulness thing of like, what should my plate look like to have a nice balanced meal, and making sure you're taking breaks between helpings. Again, we need to slow down. We tend to be like, eat, 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 like we're never going to see these foods again. And then right away we're getting seconds versus let me sit here for a minute. Let me have some water. Let me talk to the people that are at the table. Let me enjoy this experience. Give it 10 minutes. Am I still hungry? Do I need something that's a little bit smaller portion? Then go for it. And then setting yourself up for success. I love this picture. This is after I competed. Competition has taught me that it goes against everything I teach and preach all of my clients because there is no balance. But again, I try to tell myself it's like Tom Brady. If you're from New England, which he's not a part of anymore, but that's okay. He's not like being loosey goosey during his season of football, right? So I'm in my season of competing, so that I have to have a little bit more rigidness to what I'm doing. But in reality, you should be finding your balance, right? Food is meant to be joy, and we can do that without going off the deep end. So I always get an ice cream with either two of my nephews after I compete. And honestly, it's taught me like the value of balancing. And when I don't do it so often, the experience of it goes away. Now that I'm only getting an ice cream not as often as I would like to, which is like 4 times a week. It is like such a great experience with my nephews to go get ice cream with them. But again, the holidays are not about not enjoying the things that we enjoy, like, Reese's trees and pumpkins and stuff like that. But we can do it without going off the deep end, right? Bring healthier options. Again, my mom, before she started respecting what I was doing, did not care about health. She loves investing in butter, and brown sugar, right? And to me, it literally made me feel like almost hungover, like that sugar hungover the next day. It just didn't make me feel good, right? And a lot of the options she was putting out there just were not healthy options. So I tell people, like, bring your own side dishes, right? There's lots of healthy dips or plates or casseroles, desserts, right? So then it's giving you that option to have something there that you can control and that's going to make you feel good while you're still balancing having the treat. And then, like I said, take a minute to assess your plate. Don't rush things. Ask yourself, like, what is on my plate? Do I have any fruit and vegetables? Do I need some protein or a meal versus that constant snacking and appetizer browsing? It's again, our society is like rush, rush, rush. It's giving ourselves that moment to slow down and just ask ourselves these questions. What does my body need? Sometimes my body is screaming for water, right? We got to stop and listen to what we need. And that's such a great gift to give yourself during the holiday season. My little do's and don'ts, right? Again, I tell people that there's no good foods or bad foods, right? It's really kind of focusing more on the good stuff and just a little bit less of the things that really aren't adding to me feeling my best self. So make sure you are treating yourself. Enjoy the holidays and the treats, but remember, we don't need to overindulge and we don't need to eat past being full, right? Have a healthy breakfast, right? It's going to legit set you up for success for the day. Like, treat the day as a normal day. I think that's supposed to say skip. Don't skip breakfast or any meal, right? Don't go to any social event on an empty stomach, right? You're automatically going to be hangry. We're automatically going to go to what is my quickest option. That's usually, again, not like the healthiest. So set yourself up for success by quieting that like devil voice, by making sure you're eating a balanced day before going into the events. Enjoy the eating, enjoy the social aspect. Remember that it's only one day, right? And if we do go off the rails, it is just one day. And it's when we start to spill that into like the long weekend and the next week, and I'm going to start over in January, that we're really kind of losing track of like the pulse point of us really just dialing back into like, how am I pouring into me in a healthy way? That's what it comes down to, right? So there's no shame and guilt if you mess up. And we don't need to turn the holiday into multiple days or weeks. So just be kind to yourself. Movement during the holidays, so important, right? Movement is not just good for physical health, it's so good for mental health, right? I've been saying this a lot lately with people I've talked to and connected with on social media, or just friends, or my clients, my babes, I call them. The world is a dumpster fire. We can't get around it for so many reasons, right? Locally, right now, we have multiple schools in the area that are on strike. So teachers aren't in the school systems, which is wild. And so parents are having a hard time with their kids being home while everything else in the world is going on, right? God, nothing feels better when I'm stressed or low energy or just don't feel good about myself or don't feel good about the world, that I can just put in my headphones and move, whether it's a walk, getting outside, getting on a treadmill. For me, it's lifting weights, right? I always tell people, when you're angry, put it out on weights and movement. You'll feel so much better. But I understand that with the holiday season, we get, time gets chaotic, schedules get chaotic. So make sure you're setting small, attainable goals, right? If you're somebody that works out 5 or 6 times a week, you're not a failure for only getting there a couple times a week, right? Something is better than nothing. I always tell people, move before the day gets started, right? All of these tips are the same tips I give for everyday lifestyle things, but they're so important for even the holiday, right? So if I know the holiday is going to be crazy, I try to get up and move in the morning, right? I know my energy is best in the morning. I know I'm not going to want to work out later. So get it done first thing in the morning when you can. Like I said, something's better than nothing. And then pivot your plan. Like I said, if you're somebody who works out 5 or 6 times a day, 5 or 6 times a week, and your week is chaotic, where can you just schedule it in? I always tell people, I'm very busy. I look at my schedule ahead of time. And sometimes, like next week, with my schedule being as crazy as it is, I don't get to work out first in the morning. So I'm plugging in at lunch or maybe later in the day. It's all about just pivoting, so you can pour back into you, right? Prioritize short and effective movement. So I tell people, like, 20 minutes, you can get a lot done. Do a Tabata workout. Do one of my Tabata workouts for 20 minutes, and you'll be good for the day. So even if it's getting out for a walk, again, it's not just about movement physically. It's literally walking back in or putting the weights away, whatever it is, getting off your Peloton and being like, wow, I took that 20 minutes to pour into me. Now I can pour into everybody else. Make it fun and social, right? Find an accountability partner, find somebody to go to the gym with you or go for a walk. And getting outside is therapy, not punishment, right? This was my favorite little thing. Time to switch from my everyday anxiety to my fancy Christmas anxiety, because that's for real, right? So managing stress during the holidays, right? Again, it's pouring into me, it's setting boundaries and really taking time to check in with yourself. So my biggest thing that I've done in the last couple of years really is I'm crazy, but I am a morning person, and I start my day with super early because I have in-person clients that normally start anywhere between 5:30, 6 a.m. So I set my alarm like an hour, half hour before I actually need to get up, to literally just have a cup of coffee in the dark with my dog still sleeping, and like think about, again, like, how am I going to rule the world today? Literally, is I check in with myself and I look ahead at the day and say, okay, my day is crazy. How am I going to still get back to me? And that is, like, again, not skipping meals. Where am I going to move? But also, like, where am I going to just stay present? Where am I going to protect my peace? Where am I going to set boundaries? Where do I need to tell somebody no? Those kind of things. Making sure we prioritize sleep and rest. This is so important just for everyday life, but also for the holidays. If I'm not sleeping well, I'm not recovering well. And sleep is so important just for energy and mood. And making sure that we set a bedtime, we try to keep to it, and we're kind of like shutting things down so we can like ease our way into sleep, right? And going back to that again, it's figuring out what works best for you. So you can't go from 0 to 100. I have a physician, she's a badass. that is on my coaching service. And that's one of the things we're really working on. And I keep telling her too, it's like, I get that it may not be an everyday thing, but can we pick 2 nights to start with, right? Something is always better than nothing. I say this to another girl that reached out about trying to get back to the gym. And I was like, sometimes it's just getting in the door, right? Creating that routine first and then worry about what your actual workout is. Like, just get in and do 20 minutes. Same thing with the sleep. Pick 2 nights that you're going to commit to, like an early bedtime, reading before bed, whatever it is, to learn to calm down, especially during the holidays, right? Don't overcommit. I need this reminder, and I'm reminding all of you guys. It's okay to say no. We don't need to overcommit. And especially if it's saying no, so like you can pour into you. Like, sometimes my sisters and their kids, their schedule is very different than mine. And sometimes I have to say, like, no, I need to get to the gym so I don't turn violent with my words, right? So I have to get back to me. And it's okay to say no to like parties and social events that maybe just don't feel like going to. I think if we show up with honesty, like, to be honest, I've hit my low battery this week, and I teach my clients too that, like, if we can communicate and be vulnerable, that's so powerful. And I communicated with the clients I had today and yesterday, and I was like, listen, I need a mental health day, and everybody understood, versus me canceling last minute and not communicating. I think that's okay to do that and make sure that we're finding our joy and fun, right? We have to prioritize our peace and our happiness, and learning to say no is a complete sentence. And the biggest thing is, it's okay that your journey looks different than somebody else, right? My journey very much looks different than my family's, or a lot of even old friends or people I keep in my circle that maybe don't take their health as serious, or they don't prioritize going crazy in the gym, because who wants to do that? And definitely my sobriety, right? Like, I I still have people around me who drink, and that's okay. That's their journey. It's just not mine, right? And it's okay to prioritize what you need. Healthy habits like balanced nutrition and movement can really help manage stress, mood, and confidence and choices, right? It gives me that power to set those boundaries to do what I need to do. Um, how to manage alcohol, right? If I'm not here to tell anybody that they can't drink, right? If you can have a few cocktails and not want to put a bunch of names on the list and go through your neighborhood with bricks in the car, have at it, right? Unfortunately, I can't have alcohol while I'm sober. But I really do believe in being an advocate uh, of the culture and society that kind of is almost taking drinking to the extreme, especially for our mental health, right? We're in an epidemic where we're having a lot of mental health crisis, right? We're having a lot of health crisis. And alcohol is just like pouring the gasoline on it. I've had so many conversations with people within my community, or friends, or just people who have found me on social media, or even just people I know that I've talked to forever, and their biggest thing is like, I feel like I'm drinking too much, in the sense of like, it's just not making me feel good, right? It's just, it's making me sleep bad, it's making me feel bloated, whatever the reason is. I think it's okay, and I always tell people, you don't have to necessarily go sober, but we can always take a break, right? And I say this with everything. We all have a cup, is like my comparison. We all have a cup, right? And if I'm asking for health and wellness and better mindset, if my cup is filled with a bunch of things and crap, like people pleasing and alcohol and no time and whatever, negative self-talk, I can't add more to my cup if my cup is overflowing, right? So what are some things that we can take out of my cup and maybe put on pause? And I say this with like people too, like if there's people that are kind of making you not feel good about yourself, how do we remove that and just put them on pause? We don't have to get rid of them forever. Same thing with alcohol. I always tell people, if you feel like you need to work on your health and wellness, or your mental health, physical health, whatever it is, take a break from alcohol, right? So managing alcohol during the holidays, because we know that many social events uh, is very alcohol dominant, right? Before going into the event, if you're looking to like take a break from it or manage your alcohol, ask yourself like why? What is my why to wanting to be more mindful of this? Is it because I want to sleep better? I don't want to be hungover in the morning. I mentally just don't feel good. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Whatever it is, think about your why, right? Be prepared to set boundaries. Um, when I first stopped drinking, again, I had a lot of people ask me why. Why aren't you drinking? You sure you don't want to drink? And it's okay to say that no, that doesn't work for me. That I don't expect you to understand it, but I expect you to respect it, right? Have a plan, right? I learned this, and I continue to have a plan, right? I personally get super anxious at social events now, which is crazy because I'm very much an extrovert. But once the drinking starts to be a little bit more volume, I need to exit. It just makes me a little anxious. So I make sure that I bring my own car. I have a backup plan. I have my own drinks if I need to, right? If I'm going someplace that I don't know if they're going to have non-alcoholic drinks, I bring my own, right? And yeah, and bring your own options. Yep. And then finding accountability and support, right? Maybe you need to find that person to either say like, "Listen, I'm looking to not drink today at this event. Just want you to be my accountability partner." Or maybe it's finding that person that you feel comfortable with to say like, "Listen, I'm having a hard time, so I might just need you in my corner for somebody to kind of check in with." And what's great about that is you can do that with somebody that's going to be at the party, or you can just reach out to somebody like me. I love connecting with people like that. I connect with people like that all the time. And I think I'm a really big believer in like rising together. So if you need that support, you can always reach out to me or somebody you trust in your community to just say like, I just need you on like, on text or dial or Facebook Messenger, whatever it is, that I just don't want to feel alone in this. I created a group chat on Instagram actually because one of the girls who I met who was newly sober texted me one time. This was a couple years ago during Memorial Day weekend, and she's like, "Oh, this is my first Memorial Day weekend not drinking. I feel all alone." And I was in Florida. I was like, "You're not alone. I'm not drinking. I know Steph and Beverly, she's not drinking." And I put us all in a group chat, and that's basically what we use it for. Is like anybody who's going out or just feels alone in this doesn't have to feel alone, right? And again, be okay that your choices look different than other people. So how do we prioritize our wellness? I put this together because I thought like what are the peer like just like the food pyramid, what can we look at to kind of remember how to prioritize our wellness throughout the holidays and outside of the holidays. So remembering your why, to tapping into that. Like what is my why? I want to feel hot in my crop top, right? I want to not feel bloated and disgusting, like energy wise, the next day. Tap into your why, right? Focus on consistency versus perfection. We're not robots. We're not meant to be perfect. I am hoping to have some cheese and Reese trees and maybe some ice cream during the holidays. But I'm also focusing on the consistency of my entire day, like making sure I'm getting the protein, healthy carbs, and then mixing in those treats, right? Balance over restriction, staying mindful and present and tapping into ourselves, but also being present in the day. Like it's about what are things that make me joyful. And if we really sit down and ask that, a lot of the times it's not overindulging. It's really just a piece of candy or a little bit of the appetizer versus going crazy. And I always say, do you, right? Do you versus other opinions. If I listened to other people's opinions, I probably wouldn't have got sober or went and created my business, or created a women's empowerment class, all the things, right? So make sure you're always going back to doing you, and then find the people that are going to cheer you on for that, right? We need that support, and we need to surround ourselves with people like that. So I hope you stay in touch with me. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm Fuel Up with Theresa. I also left my email. And again, I left my phone number for anybody who just needs somebody to talk to, whether it's about wellness or mindset or sobriety or just alcohol in general, right? And you can find me on Facebook. Just at my full name, Theresa Coughlin. And I can give this like little slideshow thing to Christina too, so she can send it out to anybody who wants it. And let's just feel our best damn self this year, right? For the holiday season and every chapter.
Well, thank you so much, Theresa. I really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing, your story. I think that that's how I've been able to find this tribe of amazing amputees that are here with us tonight. And I'm in two places. I got to stop sharing your screen, and I want to see more than one of me. Gosh, you guys have to see
Here, let me stop. There we
more
go.
of me. There you go. Yeah, this is how I found all these amazing amputees, was just by airing out my dirty laundry and all of my pain points and the challenges and hiccups and missteps, and in that vulnerability and in those what I thought were broken pieces were all the people coming going, I have that too. And now
Yep.
it's like it's kind of like a more beautiful version of like trauma bonding, with folks.
Amen.
um, so thank you for sharing all that. There were a lot of really good pearls of wisdom, and I know that there's a lot of questions in the chat, and there's people that have some questions. So please raise your hands in
Sure.
the platform if you have any questions for Theresa or comments. I did want to just mention, by taking a poll with your actual physical hand, if everyone's got a hand here, you never know in an amputee support group. Okay. We have there's going to be three options, and I want you to raise your hand if it applies to you. So this is an integrative part of this. Everyone's faces, I see them. All right, good. So I'm going to tell you the three options, and then I'm going to raise your hands, and we're going to make this pie chart up. The first option, and this is in respect to your circumstance for the holidays specifically. You're either a person that has a healthy, happy, robust family dynamic for the holidays. Bless you. You're the minority probably, but like that's cool. That's option one. Option two is there's family and there's the people, but there are some challenges that challenging family dynamic is what we're going to call that. That's option two. Option three is um kind of loneliness and isolation and like a lack of family for whatever reason for the holidays. And so I want you guys to kind of identify with each one if you're comfortable. So I'll start with the first one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So out of all these people, who here has like isolation from friends and family for the holidays? Okay. Hands on the screen if I can see them. 3, 2, 1. All right. And then how many people here have a healthy, happy, beautiful family holiday season? Ah, love that. We've got at least one or two. Good. And then how many people have family and there's some challenges? Majority. Okay. I just wanted to get a sense of like kind of what we're dealing with, because it's similar to what I've asked other people in the past. What is that most people just have, there's a lot of people around, but especially with limb loss as it pertains to our challenges, there's undertones, like Theresa mentioned, of self-medication. There's undertones of a lot of trauma and different people that have lots of trauma. If you mix in veteran groups, there's also different types of traumas that they've gone through. And there's also like a lack of understanding of the things that you face, even maybe just to get to the party, maybe just transporting and getting there and bringing all the things and navigating in an inaccessible location with your prosthetic, and if you're lucky enough to have one, and just getting there and being exhausted and maybe not living up to the standards of the social engagement because you're so tired by the time you get there can be a big stressor for people. But thank you guys for sharing that with me. The one thing I will share is that I'm one of the folks that is, I have a great family, and there are challenges. We got a very colorful family, and my dad's dying of stage 4 cancer, and my brother's a military person, and there's some strains all over, and we're really educated people, and so people have a lot of different opinions, and I love my family. We always joke that we don't have it all together, but together we have it all. And there's a lot of opinions, and we've just tried to create boundaries, a lot of these similar tones to like what Theresa said, where I'm okay with certain things being said, even if it's not said in the right ways or in the temperaments or in the contexts or tones that I think are appropriate. But if there are X, Y, and Z things that occur, and I make it known that like I'm not okay with that, especially because I have a toddler at home, and it's still done, then all that I do instead of react is I have my backup plan, like Theresa mentioned, and we're just gonna go. It's a bummer, but we're just gonna go. I'm not gonna react to it. I'm not gonna challenge it. I'm not gonna speak over it. I'm just gonna take off. and and we'll try again another time. So that was some of the grace and the peace and the boundaries and the protecting yourself that you had mentioned, which I think is so pivotal. I wanted to also mention some of the family challenges, and I would like you guys to weigh in, and then I have some more that I'd like to get to. But um, when you're with family, I don't know if anyone here, maybe by show of physical hands again, anybody here have a hard time? We talked about quality time, Teresa, and communicating. Anybody here have family members or loved ones, or even just close inner circles, where when you get together, there seems to be a screen problem? People are on their screens, their iPhones, their computers, their TVs. Like, yeah. So I'm really triggered by it because I personalize it. It feels like it feels very disrespectful. If I'm gonna get out on my one leg and bring my 3-year-old as a single mother all the way to your house with my basket of goodies to spend time with you because you matter enough that my most valuable possession, which is time, is gonna be spent here with you, and you're or where on your phone. I get that there's emergencies, and I get that someone's on call for work, or there's a crisis like there are outliers, don't get me wrong. But can we just, as a less leg more heart initiative, if we're not already, can we just be a little bit more mindful of how easy these things are if they're sitting on the table, or they're on your pocket buzzing, or they're somewhere around, to just trigger other people to thinking, which I'm sure is not the case, that they are less important to you than they actually are. If you think about it that way, it's kind of surreal. Like my mother, she's very triggered by it. If I have this phone in or around me when we're doing dinner, she's good with boundaries, and she'll say, take the phone off the table. And you're right. There is nothing more important, nothing, than us right now in this room together. Because in a moment, as we all know in the limb loss community, our lives can change in a moment. So right here, right now is where I need to be, and nothing else and no one else has access to me. I just wanted to drop that because it seems to be a big tone in my life, and I'm by the raise of hands, it seems to be one in yours too. But I'll stop talking. Let's go around the room here. Mr. Bob, what do you got?
Hey guys, how y'all doing tonight? I'm glad to see everybody's face. It's been a wonderful meeting so far. I want to throw a question at Miss Theresa. I know I've known you before this meeting. You're an expert in the field, and I want your opinion on this. Um, as we are uh, potentially, we're kind of just a sedentary community. We don't move very much. It's kind of hard. It costs a lot of energy for us to move. It costs a lot of effort for us to get out and get moving and get back in the gym. So, those first steps are always hard.
Mm.
Um, and we were talking about families and whatnot, and this kind of ties into that as well. But we want to show up our best self, right? So maybe talk a little bit about just first steps, as far as like just diet, like like introducing a better choices, and then maybe talk about a little bit about first steps, things you could do at home, exercise wise. And I'll say this, in case you don't, on the back end of this stuff, guys, when you're eating healthy, when you're moving your body, life changes. I mean, it just does. It just there's something for it. There's something about being an active person, and making healthy choices in your diet. It just changes your entire personality. So, if you could, Teresa, just kind of could you give us a little bit of first step stuff?
Sure, I love that. Um, I think I always tell people too when they come to me. So I do most of my business is online. So I do online coaching, I do nutrition, and I do programming for people. And a lot of people, when they come to me and they're just kind of overwhelmed with where to start, I always tell people start with your nutrition first. Because if I don't have the energy to actually work out, then I'm gonna be butting heads. So I always tell people, like, let's work on the nutrition first and get your energy up. So again, it's just going back to the simple things of that plate portion. What's on my plate? Every meal should have some kind of fruits and vegetables, some kind of lean protein, some kind of healthy carb, and portioning your plate just like that. So like lean proteins like chicken, fish, eggs, egg whites, pork, steak is fine, right? Like and then like vegan things, like plant-based things, like tofu, edamame, ground turkey, that's not vegan, but ground turkey, ground chicken, that kind of things. And then healthy carbs like whole wheat bread, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, quinoa, rice, jasmine rice, pasta is fine. It's all about those portions. So I always tell people the first thing to start is look at your 3 meals. Look at your 3 meals first, because those are usually what are super unbalanced. And when in doubt, add more protein, right? We all lack protein in our diet because that's not something that's regularly available when I go to my cabinet or when I look in my refrigerator, right? When I'm hungry, I'm not like, you know what, I'm going to make this salmon bowl. I'm going for chips, the whatever's in my cabinet, stuff like that. And then I always tell people the next thing to look at is like, what does my snacking look like in between? So we tend to have like snacking gets a bad rep, but we want the snacks in between the meals to keep our blood sugars nice and level, because that's what affects our energy. So when I don't eat, my blood sugar drops. When I eat, naturally, my blood sugar spikes. If I'm doing that too much, waiting too long between meals, or even eating things that are going to spike my blood sugar, like processed things, it's gonna spike my blood sugar up and down. It's gonna affect my energy. So I always tell people it's cutting that processed things down by half and focusing on like the Greek yogurts, the granolas, fruits, vegetables, hummus, deli turkey slices. Protein supplements are fine for snacking, but the 3 meals is always what I tell people to focus on first, like cleaning up the diet in the sense of like, look at the 3 meals and then ingredients. So like whole foods versus the processed things. If I can eat more of that, then and less of the processed stuff, I will 100% feel better. Movement. So what I love about fitness is that it can really be adaptive, right? Like I tell people, it depends. There's no cookie cutter to this. I have women, my niche is women for the most part. And I've had women come to me that I'm like, who have Pelotons, for example. And I'm like, can you just walk? Can we just get in steps first and then start adding things in? So I think too, it depends on where people are at, right? What are their restrictions and limitations? There are lots of things we can do from a sitting position with if you have weights at home or body weights. I'm a freak. So I like love fitness. So even when I was away traveling and I had no equipment, I found a launch chair. I did a whole workout with a launch chair over my head. People thought I was crazy, but it helped my mental health, right? So like even when I was away in the Key West, I bought 2 gallons of water and I was doing bicep curls and rows and thrusters. Like there's lots of different things we can do. I think it's finding somebody that's going to help you adapt and make that plan depending on where you're at and what you need and what your resources are too. Because you're right, not everybody can get to the gym. Not everybody has the capacity to go for a walk. But there are different things we can do. It's just figuring out what works for you and then making that 1% better to challenge ourselves. I hope that helped to answer the question.
You do. Thank you very much. And what I'm gathering from what you're saying is, just kind of to translate through Theresa's very stringent bodybuilding talk to everybody else. It sounds to me like you're saying we don't have to say no to ribs and barbecue, but do it in moderation, right? And we want to
Correct.
look at food more as a fuel. We want to fuel our bodies for our day. Taking on the proper carbohydrates, getting enough fiber, getting enough calories, certainly staying hydrated. Absolutely. And these small changes you can make, add a little bit of vegetable into your diet at times, so we can make small corrections and eventually get into a healthier habit. And then when it comes to movement, it's not necessarily, we don't need to go to the gym and go do a full-on bodybuilding routine, but movement matters, right? So go for a walk. It's like Theresa was saying, can you just walk? Can we just do a lap around the island in the kitchen, and build upon that. So little successes, and just make sure that you're making time for yourself to kind of, put the right things in your body and do the right things with your body, and everything gains, we're not in a stuck place forever.
Absolutely.
Am I wrong, Theresa? Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Sorry, there was a
Absolutely.
pause.
Yeah.
I was gonna double
Just
dutch
small.
in, Teresa. Wanted to let you guys know that we only have 4 minutes left. I wanted to quickly have you touch too on negative self-talk. You touched briefly on it in your presentation, and with Bob talking about putting your, the good stuff in and not feeling stuck. I really wanted to bridge that in, and then I wanted to make sure we get to Craig's question about water. So negative self-talk, I did it a lot as a gymnast. Females that I know all through my life, a lot of men do it and don't admit it. Would people here want to get vulnerable enough to raise your hand if you feel like internally you have a dialogue that doesn't really speak well to itself? All right.
I have bad days.
Yeah. So I used to be that, and it really does get worse during the holidays because I can't do enough. I can't show up more, perfect enough. I didn't show up early enough. I didn't get enough for my kid or do enough things. I didn't take care of myself enough. How have you quieted that first, been aware that it's happening? Because I think being aware that it's happening and why you're being beaten down internally. Secondarily, how do you move to that second pass theory where now you're aware that it's happening and you're stopping it, or at least like not reacting to it? And then how do you get to a place where that isn't part of your life anymore? How did you morph through that?
I think the biggest thing is reminding myself that like my journey is my journey. And that wasn't like an overnight, like, okay, my journey is my journey. And I'm not going to compare myself, right? I'm the oldest of three other, two sisters too. So, and they have kids and they're married and I'm not, right? They didn't have drinking problems. I did, right? So I really guilt and shame myself. It was learning to just love myself. And honestly, tapping into the wellness journey was my way of self-care and self-love that helped make the clarity of like, this is me, this is my journey, this is what I can give, and that's okay, right? My biggest tool was the 5-minute journal. It's legit called the 5-minute journal. And I'm not a freelance journaler, but it gives you prompts. And I think, and again, especially in my sobriety journey too, it's learning the gratitude. So there's always things to be grateful for. And then it's practicing that affirmation. Now that with that being said, when I got the journal, I love it. When I first got this journal, I think I wasn't sober yet. And a CrossFit woman had it. And I was like, she's amazing. I'll do whatever she's doing. And then I brought it to my therapist. I was like, this book sucks. And he was like, give it 30 days, just try to force it, right? Because I had nothing to be grateful for. And then when I got sober and hit my rock bottom, I certainly didn't have anything grateful for. And I didn't have any affirmations, but I forced it. And even to this day, I have learned that gratitude sometimes is just the fact that like, God, I have another chance today to do something for myself and be powerful for somebody else, right? And my affirmations, I'm not sitting in bed being like, I am strong. I'm literally Googling it. Like if I'm having a bad body image day, I'm Googling body positive affirmations and figuring out what resonates with me. And then I'm making sure that I'm like putting it in a note in my phone so I have something to look at throughout the day. Because I'll catch myself thinking of things. And then also it's really finding that one or couple people that you connect with that you feel like you can vent to, but they're going to help you find a solution, right? There's a difference between venting and being a Debbie Downer and everyone's like, oh man, yeah, me too, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm a solutions girl, like vent and then what's the action to make it better, right? It's giving I'm like the David Goggins Mother Teresa. It's giving ourselves that grace, but then where do we give ourselves a little bit of that kick in the ass of like, nope, we don't talk like that. I'm going to do something different.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I'm so glad you touched on that. For me, the narrative change was instead of pitying myself, I needed to find the silver linings. Nothing in my circumstance changed. The only thing that changed my circumstances were the way that I told myself, like the story about what they were. So every night before I go to bed, we all have our hacks. Every night before my head touches my pillow, since I lost my amputation, I do a 3-2-1 practice. So every night I lay down, lights off, 3-2-1, 3 things I'm most grateful for, 2 things that were highlights from the day, and 1 thing I'm most excited for tomorrow. And maybe over time, I can start saying to myself that the thing I'm most excited for tomorrow is actually going to be, would have otherwise been a stress provoking thing. Maybe it's a stressful work business meeting. Maybe it's a competition. Maybe it's a, some family event for the holidays. And I know it's going to be challenging, but I'm excited for it because I'm excited to test out my new skills. I'm excited to see the good that comes from it. I'm excited to see the growth that came from it. And by doing that 3-2-1 practice over and over, literally for 8 years, I find it hard to be pessimistic. I find it kind of, it's not normal, right? There's all this neuroplasticity and epigenomics. If you guys are nerds like me, you want to like look into all that, but you literally will change your neural physiology, your brain thinking by routinely practicing gratitude. So powerful, Theresa. Thank you. I know Craig's got a question quick about water, and then we're out of time. You're on mute, Craig.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. The question, I'm gonna shoot this to you right quick, and it's not the question, but it's funny that y'all said something about journals, because I've been trying to find out how to do a journal for about 5-6 years and been very unsuccessful with that, and not quite sure how to do a journal or get anything from it. So let me get past that. Water. We talk about drinking water and how you drink so much water. If you take water and you take the little crystal light things and add it to water, is that the same as drinking straight water?
Uh, it's like the salsa kind of, like, everyone's like, if I drink if enough salsa, is that hydrating? I'm like, that's a lot of bubbles, you know? Crystal light, what I tell people is, like, don't do it all day long. Like, if you're gonna have a little crystal light during the day, that's fine, and you can count that as water. But crystal light has like artificial sugar and artificial stuff in it, so I wouldn't use it in excess, right? If you have it every day for a
Don't
drink
alter your
for
water.
lunch or whatever it is.
So you
What's that?
said don't alter your water.
Ultimately, no, but crystal light is not what's going to make or break us, right? Let's be
Okay.
honest.
I have some
It's not the
different,
crystal.
there's
But
some,
I would just say just don't drink like a whole gallon of it every single day. Like, if you're having a cup or two, whatever it is, to enjoy your day, have at it.
Podium. Get you guys some Podium. I'm not a sponsored athlete and our organization doesn't benefit from it, but I will tell you, I drink about, and you guys should drink, what do they say? An ounce per pound of body weight or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I drink like 3 of these a day, and I get real bored from drinking water, but I drink water all day. So Podium was made by a CrossFitter. I used to be a CrossFitter, but the reason I like Podium is it's a salt and electrolyte powder, and it's got no added sugars, and it's got none of the loses, sucraloses, whatever. It's got carbs, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and taurine, and it tastes good. So like, if you can find a product that's an alternative that seems like it's a reasonable price point where it doesn't have junk in it, if you look at that nutrition label, to keep the variety, but also like, don't underestimate, you got a wife there that loves to probably cut fruit and veggies. Like, don't underestimate cutting up some lemons and some cucumber and sticking it in the water, or maybe some strawberries and mint one day. Like,
Basil, yeah.
taking some actual like herbs and stuff and putting them in the water, because that'll do just as good of a job on a cheaper budget, right?
I love doing, I was gonna say, I love doing like frozen blueberries, because blueberries have good fiber in it as well, and it gives like the water a good taste. But like the Crystal Light's fine. I just wouldn't drink like gallons of it every day. You know what I mean? If you're having a glass of
Everything
it,
in
that's fine.
moderation.
Everything in moderation.
Well, we could go on
I'm
and
not
on.
gonna tell you to take away that.
We could go on and on for hours. I am so, like I said, always, I'm so grateful, Theresa, for you coming in to share your knowledge. And I'm also so grateful for all of you people that are choosing to invest in yourselves and to show up at these meetings to get the pearls of wisdom. Not everything might align with you or correlate, to what your needs are, but now you have education from a vetted source, because that's all we'll bring on here, of information that you can share with people, or you can refer them to the YouTube videos where we'll put this information so that they can actually have some good information for themselves in their journey. You can become a beacon of hope and information to pass along to others, which is how we really make a bigger effect. So thank you all for being here, and I hope to see you again next Thursday, same time, same bat channel, 6 p.m. And until then, guys, put your best foot forward. Happy Thursday. See you later, guys.
Thank you so much. It was so great meeting everybody.
Thank you.